Hi, I'm Val O'Bryan, and I wanted to show you how I use Lucid to support the research and writing process. I think with all of the concerns lately about AI doing writing for students, this is a way to hold students accountable for each step for doing that critical thinking, and it's going to encourage them to do their own writing. They'll feel more prepared, and they will have everything that they need to be successful without turning to an AI generator in desperation. I'm going to show you my boards in Lucid Chart, but a lot of these activities can be done in Lucid Spark, and actually one of them is more powerful in Lucid Spark, so I'll show you that in a little bit. So feel free to use the tool that you prefer. I'm going to show you an example from an English class, but anytime you're facilitating research and writing in your content area, whether that's history, science, math, this would apply. The first thing that I always like to do at the very beginning of the writing process is brainstorm. I like to brainstorm as a whole group, just as a starting off point. And so you can see kind of a snippet of a Lucid Chart brainstorm here. I gave students the broad topic of nutrition, and then we started creating branches off of that. And it's really nice because students can add in their ideas, they can add in experiences that they've had, they can add in links. You can see right here, there are links to other articles, links to TED Talks, links to TikTok. This is all a great starting point for students to get ideas. And then once they have latched onto an idea that they are really excited about, they can come over here and click all of these and copy them all and move them onto an individual brainstorm chart. So you can see here, this student has started one and they got some ideas from their peers, and now they're working and adding their own thoughts onto it. They'll continue to add to this chart. Every time they do research and they find a new source, we will come back to their original brainstorm chart and add to it. As I have my students do research online, searching databases, it's really nice to add links right onto their Lucid chart. So this becomes a collecting place for everything that they're finding. I also encourage students to color code. That way they have a visual representation. They can see at a glance if they have more sources in one area than another. You can also upload PDFs right to your Lucid chart, and that's so helpful. This one they pulled right from the database. You don't want them to lose it. So I tell my students, when you find an article that you like in the database, download it, download the PDF, copy and paste the citation from the database, and put it right into Lucid chart for safekeeping. This helps them organize their thinking, see how sources are related to their ideas, see how sources are related to each other. And then we move on to the next step of vetting those sources. And I love to create graphic organizers in Lucid that students can fill out. So this graphic organizer is all about the author of a source. So once they've found some sources that they like, they can come back over here and they can answer these questions and fill this graphic organizer out, and it will help them determine credibility. At the very end, there are instructions that say, after looking at all the filled boxes above, is this source appropriate to use for an academic essay? If it is usable, give yourself a green light, and they can turn this green. They know that they can use that source. You can expand this canvas. That's the great thing about Lucid, right? And so they can do this for every single one of their sources. It's going to drive the point home about which authors are credible, are the sources reputable, and they can see at a glance what is usable and what is not. Once they have determined that their source is usable, I like to have them do annotations and analysis. This is one activity that's way better in Lucid Spark. So I'm going to switch over. You can upload the PDFs, but in Lucid Spark, you can actually use highlighter tools and highlight and annotate. They can upload their PDFs right into Lucid Spark, and then they can use the highlighter tool. It's over here. Here's the highlighter. And so they can make all their annotations right here in Lucid Spark. The other thing that I really like, once they have annotated their text, you can come over here, and I call this activity a source dissection. So there's some bibliographic information up here, and then we look very closely at the claim, reasons, and evidence. And then we look very closely at that evidence and we answer questions about if any other sources can corroborate that evidence, if it seems accurate, if it's still timely, or if it's too old and things have changed since then. So the nice thing about Lucid Spark is you could have those activities right next to each other. While they're annotating their text, they can be filling this out as well. So this helps them really digest that information. It helps them understand how arguments are constructed. And then this is information that they can pull and use in their own writing. Let's come back over here. So I do really like doing the annotation in Lucid Spark, but you can also do the analysis part right here in Lucid Chart if you want. You can have that article pulled up so they can pull from it, and then they can fill it out over here. After they've looked really closely at their sources, I like how you can use these circles with X's, and they can just create a visual representation of like, okay, right now I'm not pursuing this branch of my Lucid chart. I'm not pursuing this branch anymore. This had the most sources. They're the most credible and reputable. So I'm going to use those. This is something that you can look at and know, okay, I expect to see these as a teacher. I expect to see all of these sources in your final work, whether that's an essay or a podcast or a presentation or a debate argument. And then lastly, you can have students start generating an outline for their essay right here in Lucid Chart as well. So I'm showing you these on different tabs, but you could very easily take this idea and paste it onto a different chart or different Lucid Spark so that they can see all at one time their brainstorm, their web, their sources, their source dissection, and they can fill this out. Some students like to go through the writing process very linearly. They like to start from the top with a thesis statement and then work their way through all of their reasons and claims and body paragraphs. Other students don't think that way, and they like to kind of have their reasons constructed first and then find evidence. So this kind of allows students to think that way, think in pieces, and then come back and see the whole outline as a whole. And so a lot of students benefit from that flexibility. So I really like using Lucid Chart and Lucid Spark just to help students through that entire process, show their critical thinking, show their preparation. I do weight the assignments all throughout the process pretty heavily. I expect them to participate, and that helps me be sure that they're doing their own work. So give Lucid Chart and Lucid Spark a try as you are facilitating research and writing.